Hello everybody, and welcome to the Academic Athlete. I am Coach Castle, and today we're going to be going over the shoulders, the shoulder muscles, the shoulder boulders, the boulder shoulders, the things that everybody wants, those big 3D caps that everybody's looking for on their shoulders. Now, whether you're looking for them to be aesthetically pleasing, to be stronger, to be more functional, these so-called shoulder muscles, let's get into what they are, what they're called, what they do, and of course how to train them most effectively. Now, I already have two other videos up, biceps explained and triceps explained, how to maximize your training for them. Today is, as previously stated, shoulders, or the front deltoid, the lateral deltoid, and the rear deltoid, just to keep it in simple terms. Now, that's 3 muscle groups to be trained. That requires 3 movements. And that's, as was addressed in the biceps and tricep video, every muscle group on your body only has one optimum pathway to move. Muscles can only pull, not push. They can only pull in a straight line, bilateral deficit, or using both hands on a shared implement will reduce ability and force generation. And a few other concepts that we've already touched on, I'll be getting into again with today's video. Now, there are many shoulder exercises to choose from, just like biceps and triceps. Are they all equally valuable? Do they all have the same effect? No, obviously. So anyone who follows this channel should know by now that if you were to Google any muscle, any exercise, it doesn't matter, bicep exercise, tricep exercise, you will get a list of hundreds, if not thousands, of variations of styles and things to do for that exercise. But there is a checklist. There is a way to tell if an exercise is efficient and will actually produce results, or if it is inefficient and will produce very little results and mostly damage. Now, most unfortunately, the shoulder gets a lot of damage from people. And that's because they don't understand evolution, they don't understand anatomy, and they very regrettably monkey see, monkey do just about everything in the gym. So what do people typically do for the shoulder? Well, there's lots of things as previously addressed, so I'm only going to get into a couple variations and why they're bad, and then I'm going to get into what the shoulder muscles do, those 3 muscle groups, and then I'm going to show you variations for each one of them. I'll try to keep this brief and not overload you guys with too much information. I'm trying to keep this as a series and spread the information out across the videos. So again, check out the bicep tricep video if you haven't already checked it out. A lot of the same concepts will be referenced here, but not in detail. So without further ado, people typically for their shoulders will do things like overhead presses. And they think this is a good shoulder exercise. They will do things like rows, upright rows. They will do things like standing lateral swings, or even these goddamn things, which I really don't like. So we'll leave it at those. Let's just stop there. So these are all technically shoulder exercises, yes. And these all technically will train your shoulder muscles. However, each and every one of these exercises is highly efficient for training those individual muscle groups. And each one of those exercises not only being inefficient, but also is damaging. So let's get into that briefly. So the first one I reference is the overhead press. Now, it doesn't matter if you're holding a barbell and you have the weight behind you or the weight is in front of you. As long as you are pressing upright like this with your hands on a bilateral implement or a bilateral machine, you are causing damage to your shoulder joint. The shoulder joint is the most mobile joint in all of the human body. Therefore, it's also very delicate. And a lot of people don't consider this, but you need to be evenly training all of the muscle groups on your body, front, back, up, down, left, right, etc., so that you have a complete body and no one muscle group or groupings of muscles is pulling in one particular direction. So just to highlight this and take a step away from the shoulders, this is something I see all the time. Guys will train their chest nonstop. They'll train their abs nonstop. They'll do exercises for their shoulders, which are really just the front deltoid, nonstop. What this causes is a forward hunching of the shoulders, and they look like this walking around like this all day. This is obviously not healthy. This is obviously not something anyone should want to look like because it has all kinds of health implications to it. The reason for this is they don't train their opposing muscle groups equally. So middle and lower trapezius is going to help so your shoulders don't roll forward. It's going to help you evenly balance so you actually have correct integrity front and back of your body. If you're training only your bicep but not equally training your tricep, you're going to have a lot of issues with tendons in your triceps and stuff, etc. when you try to do certain movement patterns, even with your bicep, because your bicep is stronger than your tricep. You can't miss muscle groups or pieces of your body. So this is exactly what happens with the shoulder, though. People will stick to these movements that damage them, that damage the shoulder joint because it's highly mobile, and they're putting pressure on it in ways it's not supposed to be pressurized. So without getting too much into the anatomy, I have a lot of videos about shoulder health. If you guys are curious, just check out my shoulder health videos. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole today. Today I'm just going to focus on levers and biomechanical concepts. So for the overhead press, your objective is to be training your shoulders. The primary mover in this movement is your front deltoid. So you are training your shoulders. Good. You're targeting your front deltoid and you're targeting your lateral deltoid to a small degree. You're not training your rear deltoid at all with that movement. So how can we make it better? First step, don't make it bilateral. So one implement in each hand. So either cables or dumbbells. That's good. So we just made it better. Second way we're going to make it better, we're going to maximally use our levers. So instead of having a 12-inch lever only, just up and down with a 12-inch lever, I'm going to double that. Now I got about a 24-inch lever. So now this technically is the same thing you were just doing, but now you have long arms. Now obviously this is silly and you don't see anyone doing this, although it's actually the same thing as doing this. You're just doubling your levers. The reason you don't see people doing that is highly uncomfortable. For good reason. We're going to change it again and have to select and choose one muscle group. So I'm going to select and choose the lateral deltoid. So now we look like this. But again, we have a problem. This is not inside of the correct resistance curve. This is ending with a lever which is perpendicular to gravity, or a 100% lever, which should be the middle portion of the movement. And it's ending here in the fully contracted zone, where the muscle is very weak, not very strong. So how do we change this? You change the resistance curve either using a cable or changing your torso's position in relation to gravity. So if you guys don't know about the resistance curve, check out the tricep video. But here I am now, lateral deltoid selected only, performing a lateral movement only with a long lever. Stopping at the clavicle, going back down until it touches my leg. Now, why don't you see people in the gyms doing this move? Well, it's pretty simple. It's because it's really hard to do that move for any number of reps with anything over 15 pounds. And guess what? 15 pounds does not look very impressive to most people, but it's highly effective. Now say, for example, you're one of those guys who doesn't think I'm right about this stuff. What do? You lift with your ego. You lift to impress others. You lift in a monkey see, monkey do style. So you have probably 40 or 50 pound dumbbells, and you are doing this. Now, to highlight what this looks like, and we've all seen these morons who do this stuff, they're not loading the target muscle. The target muscle is the lateral deltoid. It's out of the correct resistance curve. It's getting extremely minor load for less than 1/4 of a second. Outside of the correct resistance curve. You're using so much weight, you're completely unable to control it. Your levers are shortened. You have rotation rotating you forward, so you can't even prioritize your deltoid. You're actually using your erector spinae, your back and your legs to generate momentum, further subtracting from your shoulders to get the weight up, because you think heavy weight is necessary, or you just are trying to show off for the other gym bros. I'm not sure. But either way, it doesn't change the fact it's a horrible movement. it damages your shoulder and it produces almost no results. So, food for thought, change the direction, lengthen the lever, maximally use the resistance curve, do it correctly, prioritize the contraction of only the lateral deltoid inside of the correct resistance curve. It's very simple. That's with a dumbbell. Now, with a cable, it would just look like this. You're going to want the cable starting at hip height. You're going to want your pinky slightly higher than your index finger. And when you do the pull, very simple, up till it's parallel with the clavicle. Don't allow your clavicle or your collarbone to move. Don't let your shoulder blade or your scapula move. You can hold it down with your opposite hand, and this would be a complete movement. So that's lateral deltoid, guys. Now let's take apart another one of the previous movements. Let's say the upright row. So now we also talk about the upright row. Now I really don't like this movement, but I know why all the gym guys do. I know why all the egomaniacs like it. It doesn't produce any results besides damaging your shoulder. Why do people like it? The same reason they like to do lateral deltoids the way I just mentioned a moment ago. They can do a lot of weight. That's nice. But you basically just don't understand math or physics or anatomy essentially, or care about results, because if you cared, you'd learn. So the upright row, like so, what you're doing is attempting, once again, to target your shoulders. Once again, you are providing a forward rotation with your arms because your arms are in front of your body, so you have to counterbalance that rotation, taking away from what you're trying to do, target the shoulders. On top of that, you are doubling your levers. So remember earlier how I said 12-inch lever, 12-inch lever? Well, what happens if those levers, instead of being out to the side, are instead doubled, and I hold the weight here? Well, I'll tell you what happens. It cuts it down to about a 1-inch lever, and that's about a 1-inch lever magnification instead of a 24-inch lever magnification. So for those gymbos who are bad at math, you're going to be getting 1 times whatever weight you're lifting, 1 times, or 24 times, which is why you don't do this movement, because it's very hard to do that without momentum with heavy weight, because it is an improper movement outside of the correct resistance curve. The lateral deltoid is a very small muscle, as is the front deltoid, as is the rear deltoid. They're very small little muscles attached to a very long lever. And you always want to lift the biggest amount of weight, regardless of whether it's productive or not. So once again, the upright row is great for destroying your shoulder. It's terrible at targeting any of the muscles on your shoulder. Outside of the correct resistance curve, horribly so. Let's just say it's a bad exercise and leave it at that. I don't want to get through it. It looks like we're getting up on their time. So what would you do instead? Well, we already covered the lateral deltoid, so let's talk about the front deltoid. Trying to target the front deltoid with this one too, but what does the front deltoid do? Well, front deltoid, simple explanation, not 100% accurate, but simple explanation. It's responsible for taking your upper arm bone from this position to this position, and that would be a fully contracted front deltoid. The easiest way to envision this, or any of the deltoid muscles, is just like the bicep. Bicep starts here, connects here. Its function is to lift this up. Well, the front delt is a little bicep, connects here and here, and its function is to do this. So not this, but this. So there's a lot of ways you can do that. I'm just going to show you 2 real quick. Dumbbell and cable again, but once again, remember, cable is just redirecting gravity, which is why the movements look the same. It's just in one case I'll be standing, and one case I'll be horizontal. The horizontal one with dumbbells, gravity's down. The standing one with cables, I will have gravity horizontal. So this is what it looks like for front delts. And then horizontal, you'll notice with the dumbbell, I kept it centered over my belly button. And it's the same thing with the cables. I just want to keep it parallel with my forearm when I'm doing the movement. Same thing, except this time there's continuous resistance throughout the movement, which is why I actually like cables better, kind of better time and load under tension for a longer period of time. Now, finally, let's get to the rear delt. So for the rear delt, most people will do this particular movement on the machine, attempting to target it. There is an issue with that, as is the issue of doing things like rows for your rear delts. Rows do in fact work your rear delts, as does doing the machine like this as well. Not efficiently, not inside of the correct resistance curve. So what you're looking to do with a dumbbell, it's a little hard. Most people aren't flexible enough to accomplish it, so I'm going to show you a standard version that most people can accomplish, slightly outside of the perfect resistance curve, but still close. And I'm going to show you a perfect version with cables. So first off, no barbells, no machines. We want to keep it bilateral. That's number one. Number two, the rear deltoid is not a horizontal muscle. It doesn't pull horizontally. It pulls diagonally. The reason it pulls diagonally is the same reason that our laterals, latissimus dorsi rather, pulls laterally as well. These are muscles which were evolutionarily designed for arboreal locomotion, or basically just swinging through the trees and climbing trees and vines and stuff. These muscles are responsible for that. Those are all diagonal movements. So the rear deltoid must also be pulled in a diagonal fashion through the resistance curve. Now, to keep it simple, let me just show you what that looks like. You'll just be horizontal line. One fist with the weight is thumb down in front of the other hand. You're going to be pulling straight up and back down. Now, I'm aware this is a horizontal movement, and I just said that the rear deltoid is not a horizontal pull. Now, that's because if I was doing this correctly, I would be at a very substantial angle inverted, and most people just aren't flexible enough to do that comfortably. This is a standard version everyone can do with a dumbbell, which targets the rear deltoid inside the correct resistance curve with at least 85% accuracy. Now, as for the cable, let me show you what that looks like from the back. But essentially, you'll be originating with the cables in front of you, cross your hands so you have a diagonal pull, and you'll be concluding when the cable touches your shoulder, just like with the tricep, knowing that is the conclusion. Good job, you've completed the perfect resistance curve. Now return to the beginning with no momentum. And this is what that would look like. All right, guys, so that's shoulders. A little bit longer, I know, but it was also 3 muscle groups, not 1. I hope this was helpful. Just a reminder to train intelligently, not traditionally. Most people who go to the gym, I would say well over 95%, have no idea what they're doing. You don't want to be one of those people. Going there for hours and hours a week, years and years, and not making any progress. Do the smart stuff. 10, 15 minutes a day, 5-6 days a week, make optimum progress as fast as you've ever seen in your life. But of course, you must have correct nutrition, supplementation, sleep hygiene, correct hormones, etc. You guys know all these things I talk about. If you find these videos helpful, let me know in the comment section. Leave a like, share this video to get this to other people, hopefully educate them as well. And of course, guys, I wish you all the best, and I hope that you're employing these techniques, saving yourself a lot of time, effort, and energy. And I hope you're talking about them, because I'd like to start this revolution where we get rid of these giant, unnecessary, useless gyms, mostly full of vain egotists who really don't actually care about helping other people or even helping themselves. It's kind of sad. So let's all make a lot of progress. Let's try to get other people to make progress intelligently, not destroy our bodies for the future, instead be happy and healthy now and forever.